My name is Erin Mays, and I'm one of the Stephen ministers here at UMCL. And it is a privilege to be up here today to get to talk to you. Over the years, I've had several opportunities to stand here and share parts of my story with you. And today, because you have so kindly listened in the past, I get to share another part with you and how it relates to Stephen Ministries. So, thank you. As many of you know, and as I've shared before, my older sister Carrie passed away unexpectedly 26 years ago. She was 30 at the time, I was 27, and my life and who I was up until that moment changed in an instant. From that, I learned what it's like to feel completely alone. I know what it's like to question my faith and wrestle with thoughts and feelings that I couldn't imagine sharing with anyone else. I know what it's like to feel completely broken. I also know how all of these things combined can lead to feelings of isolation and hopelessness, leaving you wondering if there's any healing or hope to be had. After Carrie died, I was fortunate. I had support. I had family, I had friends, I had an amazing grief counselor, and many others who showed up to support me. But even with this support, I still felt alone, confused, and broken. The truth is that no one person could have been my sole source of comfort during this time. It required God, faith, and many, many different layers of support. I had my family, but they were going through their own pain and grief. They were trying to process their loss just like I was, and I didn't want to add my pain, my confusion, or my fears to their burden. I had my friends. They cared and they lovingly listened to me tell my story over and over again. And I know without a doubt that they would have listened 1,000 times if I had asked them to. But they had their own lives to live and their own issues to contend with. I had some people in my life who were great at supporting me, but they didn't share the faith that I was leaning into so desperately. They couldn't offer me prayer, and they couldn't remind me of God's promises that brought me strength and comfort and hope. There were still others who tried to fix my grief, when what I really needed was somebody just to sit with me and listen and reassure me as I processed my feelings out loud. And then some were just simply so uncomfortable with my pain that they either ignored it or they just wanted me to get over it so that I could go back to being the Erin I was before. And then, although they weren't those closest to me, there were some who I didn't really know if I could trust with my pain and my grief. I didn't feel comfortable sharing my feelings with them because I didn't know if I could trust them to handle it with the care, respect, and confidence that it deserved. Now, I'm guessing that many of you here, both in the sanctuary and online, can relate to the struggle of finding support during times of difficulty. And I have no doubt that every single person here has their own unique story to share as well. We all go through difficult times. Like me, it could be the loss of a loved one, but there are many other things that can cause an upheaval in our lives. Things such as job loss, relationship issues, a diagnosis, the stress of being a caregiver, parenting struggles, questions of faith, or even life stage transitions like marriage, divorce, becoming a new parent, navigating a blended family, or becoming empty nesters, and the list goes on and on. But one truth that connects all of our stories is that we are not meant to suffer through these hard times alone. We're not required to be strong and push through difficult circumstances based on our own sheer will. No, God created us to be in relationship, first and foremost with Him, and also with others, especially those He so lovingly places in our paths. And that leads us to today's verse, which comes from Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 and 10, which says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up." We are not meant to go through life or its challenges alone. We have a God who loves us and never leaves us, and we have His hands and feet in the form of those around us who hold us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. God gifts us with people to help us up, and Stephen ministers are help you up people. Now, I didn't have a Stephen minister when my sister died, but knowing what I know now, it would have been a lifeline for me. Stephen ministers are trained to provide confidential, Christ-centered, one-on-one care that is focused entirely on you. We are trained to listen without judgment, and we are there to encourage, support, and pray with you and for you along your path. Stephen minister-care relationship is built on the cornerstones of faith and confidentiality. These are non-negotiables with Stephen Ministry. But confidentiality, while essential to the success of the Stephen minister-care receiver relationship, can also lead to a little bit of confusion about Stephen Ministry and what it is that we, as Stephen ministers, actually do. So today, we're going to do something a little bit different than we've done in the past. We're going to lift the curtains, so to speak, to give you a glimpse into what an actual Stephen minister-care receiver relationship is like. We have several video vignettes portraying different stages of the caring relationship. The vignettes are based upon the scenarios presented in the extensive training that each Stephen minister receives. They are fictional, but also very indicative of what an actual caring Stephen minister relationship is like. So with that, I will introduce vignette number 1, which has one of our Stephen ministers meeting with their care receiver for the very first time after being paired up by one of the Stephen leaders.
Hi, Susie. It's so good to see you.
Oh, you too, Joni. Thank you for meeting with me.
Absolutely. So tell me what's going on.
Well, one day I'm feeling fine, and the next day my mammogram comes back with breast cancer, and now I have an oncologist and a surgeon. And needless to say, my life has been turned upside down.
You must be very overwhelmed right now.
Overwhelmed is an understatement.
There are a lot of emotions that go along with the diagnosis.
There sure are, and for my family too. You know, they've been very supportive and positive, but I can't tell them everything because I think it's making them more afraid.
Absolutely. Well, that's where a Stephen minister comes in so handy, because everything that you say to me is completely confidential. It's only between you, me, and God.
And speaking of God, I know He's with me in all of this, but my faith is shaky, and frankly, it's being challenged.
Well, I want you to know that this is going to be a path that I'll be walking along right next to you. You're going to have a lot of challenges, I'm sure. You're going to have a lot of bridges to cross. But I want you to know that I'm with you, and when you're feeling like there's just a thunderstorm in your head, that I am holding the umbrella for both of us. Let's remember that I am just the caregiver, but God is the cure giver.
Wow, that's a promise I can hang on to. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, should we set up the first time to meet?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Great. How about if we pray first?
Thank you.
So when the caring relationship is established, you saw the Stephen minister makes a commitment to be there for the care receiver as they work through the life challenge that brought them together. But we all know that life can throw us curveballs. In this next vignette, Steve Neal and Craig Roble show us an example of that. And men, take note. There are male Stephen ministers, and men can use a Stephen minister sometimes too.
Hey, Craig, I got your call. It sounds like there's an issue. You lost your job, and so I'm glad we get a chance to talk.
Thanks for returning my call. You got me through the divorce, and I'll always be appreciative of that. But now losing the job, there were layoffs, and it seemed like I'd be okay, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, and I felt lost. And I was glad I could call you, and that you returned my calls. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad you did call. As we talked before, when you're making your way through the divorce and the difficulties there, I told you that I'm here. I'm here to listen. I'm here for you. We prayed together over that, and I'm here for you on this one too.
But am I coming to you too often? I mean, it feels like it's piling up on me, and it's like maybe God's mad at me about something. Do I have to try to figure that out?
Number one, no, you're not calling me too often. Anytime you need something, give me a call.
Okay.
Every now and then I may not, be immediately available, but I'll let you know. And you're not taking up too much of my time. We've been getting together, for a while. We're getting together once a week for an hour or so, and that's just fine.
Yeah.
As far as God, I get it. I understand how you can feel mad at God. I understand how you can really feel down on getting hit another time, and just as you're really doing much better, and you did a lot of hard work on the divorce and getting through there. And
it was you, man.
I was here to listen. You worked through it. I'm confident you're going to be able to work through this one as well.
You gave me the map. If you hadn't given me the map, I wouldn't have known where to go. And
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
That's nice.
Being able to talk to you about all these things and just knowing that there was someone that I can talk to. Because you can pray, but here I get a response, and I like the fact that sometimes you would question some of the things I would say and ask for a little bit more detail, and it made me think more. So I appreciate that.
Good. Well, that's good. So let's plan on meeting again.
Okay.
So we meet again in a week, about a week?
Let's do a week.
I know in the meantime, you figure out what you want to do. It depends on the person. Some people like to jump right into the job search. Some people, you've got your 2 kids. You might want to spend a little more time with them and remember what your life's, what's important in your life. And so,
I'll check the finances, and maybe that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I'm not thinking clear right now, so I'm glad there's somebody that's helping me.
And remember, you can apply for unemployment right away in the state. So
yeah, that's right.
So do that.
Right.
Just do, if you can get that done in the next few days, get that going. And now you got a little severance too, so
yeah.
So you got a little time to think things through, and we'll plan a meeting in a week. Can I close this in prayer, Craig?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And eventually, there comes a time in the caring relationship when God has brought healing, and it's time to start the process of closing the formal care receiver relationship. In our final vignette, Joni Foley and Jane Ayton give us a glimpse into this.
Hi, Jane. It's so good to see you.
Joni, it's so good to see you too, and your visits have been such a gift to me.
I feel the same way in terms of just getting to know you over these last 3 years. You've just crossed so many bridges, and I'm just so proud of you and your progress.
Yeah, since my husband's death, I didn't think in the beginning that I was going to be able to handle everything, all the financial details, and I just didn't know which way to turn in the midst of my grief.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Jane. I feel so honored to have walked along this path with you.
Thanks, Joni. It was hard to share my feelings with other people, with my coworkers, my family. You really listened to me, and they just wanted me to be done.
Well, remember that we were not alone on this journey together. God was with us the whole time.
That's very comforting.
Well, I've noticed that our relationship is starting to shift. You're telling me about the everyday, more about what you're looking forward to, and I just think our relationship is changing.
Yes, and thank you for introducing me to Grief Share, because that also really helped me, and I am very much looking forward to the session that starts this afternoon.
That's wonderful. Well, do you think that we can close out this caring relationship?
As long as we can still remain friends, I think I'm ready to give you to the next person that needs your help.
Well, thank you for saying that, Jane. That just absolutely warms my heart. You have been so wonderful to go through this time that we've had together. I just feel very blessed to have done it with you. I really do. And I was wondering if you wanted to, if you have any special prayers to end our time together.
I feel the same way about our time together, but let me close us in prayer this time.
Absolutely.
So obviously it's not possible to capture an entire caring relationship that might last months, maybe even more than a year, in 3 short videos. But we hope that through these vignettes, you have a little better understanding of what it means to have a Stephen minister walk with you through a difficult time in your life. And most of all, we want you to know that we are here for you, not only at the back of the sanctuary on Sunday mornings, but whenever you need us. We will listen to you and we will pray with you for as long as it takes for God to bring healing. It's been a blessing for me to be a part of this ministry over the last several years. And I would like to thank all of our current and former Stephen ministers. There are a lot of you who are not currently active of Stephen ministers, but have been a part of the program over the really long history here at UMCL. So I want to thank all of you too for laying that foundation for us. And thank you all for answering God's call to bring his love to others in that way. And of course, if you feel like you would like to have a Stephen minister, or you think you might want to serve as a Stephen minister, you can talk to any of the current Stephen ministers or the Stephen ministry leaders or our pastors. We're here for you. So thank you.